Camp Anyway, Part 2, page 191. His mother knew. Somehow she knew. Maybe it was a loss of appetite. Mothers notice these things. That distracted longing. Feelings can only be hidden so long from those who really pay attention. Still, his mother obeyed his father, and Henry was alone now. All because of you, he thought. I wish I could think of something else, someone else, but I can't. Is this what love feels like? How could I ever forget you, he asked. An old man behind Keiko began tapping his tray on the steel railing of the counter and clearing his throat. I better go, Keiko said, sliding her tray down as Henry filled it. I have those things you asked for, and a birthday present for you. Really? Keiko smiled with delight. I'll meet you at the visitors' fence in an hour after dinner, okay? Keiko beamed a smile back before disappearing into the crowded mess hall. Henry went back to work, serving meal after meal until everyone had been fed. Then he carried the serving pans to the dish pit, where he hosed them down with icy cold water, thinking of how Keiko would be leaving again, going to someplace unknown. Keiko walked past a different set of guards this time and met Henry at the visitors' area of the fence, just like they planned. There were 3 of 4 clusters of visitors along the fence line, with 5 or 10 feet between them, creating intimate spots to converse through the barbed wire fencing separating the internees from the outside world. It was getting late, and a chilling wind had rolled in thick storm clouds, replacing the normally bleak, overcast sky. Rain was coming. They just canceled our record party. Bad weather. Henry looked at the darkening sky, disappointed more for Keiko than for himself. Don't worry, he said. There'll be another time. You can count on it. I hope you're not disappointed. You came all this way. I really did want to sit here along the fence and listen with you. I didn't come for the music, Henry said. He rubbed his eyes, trying to forget the news that she and her family would soon be leaving again. Everything felt so serious and final. He interrupted the moment with a smile of his own. This is for you. Happy birthday. Henry handed Keiko the first of the 2 presents he'd brought, slipping it carefully between the rows of barbed wire to keep from snagging the wrapping paper. Keiko took it graciously and carefully untied the ribbon, folding it in a neat bundle. I'm saving this. Ribbon like this in camp is like a present in itself. Henry watched as she did the same with the lavender wrapping paper before opening the package, the size of a small shoebox. Oh, Henry. She took out the sketchbook, the tin of watercolors, and the set of horsehair brushes. Then a set of drawing pencils, each of a different softness of lead. Do you like it? Henry, I absolutely adore it. This is so wonderful. You're an artist. Seemed like it would be a shame to be here away from what you're good at. Did you look inside the sketchbook? Keiko set the small box down on a dry patch of dirt. The mud from the previous week had hardened, creating a desert of textured soil. She opened the small black hand-bound sketchbook and read the price tag. $1.25. Oops, here. Henry reached in and peeled off the price tag from the stationer where he bought it. You weren't supposed to see that. Look on the next page. Keiko turned the page and read the inscription aloud. To Keiko, the sweetest, most beautiful American girl I've ever known. Love, your friend Henry. He watched her eyes moisten as she read it again. Henry, that's so sweet. I don't know what to say. He felt awkward writing the word love in the sketchbook. He must have stared at that blank page, worrying about what to write for 20 minutes before he finally just wrote it in ink. No turning back then. Just say thank you and that'll be fine. She looked at him between the wires. The wind picked up and blew her hair away from her face. Thunder could be heard rumbling somewhere over the foothills, but neither looked away. I don't think thank you is enough. You've come a long way to bring me this, and I know your family, your father. Henry looked down and exhaled softly. He knows, doesn't he? Keiko asked. Henry nodded. But we're just friends. Henry looked her in the eye. We're more than friends. We're the same people. But he doesn't see it. He only sees you as a daughter of the enemy. He's disowned me. My parents stopped speaking to me this week, but my mother still sorts of acts like I'm around. The words came out so casually, even Henry was surprised at how normal it felt. But communication in his home had been far from ordinary for almost a year. This was just a new final wrinkle. Keiko looked at Henry, shocked with sadness in her eyes. I'm sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. I feel terrible. How could a father treat his son? It's all right. He and I never talked that much to begin with. It's not your fault. I wanted to be with you. When you first came to the school, I was shocked and a little surprised. But going to school with you, it just hasn't been the same. But going to school without you, it just hasn't been the same. I miss you. I'm so glad you're here, Keiko said as she touched the pointed metal of the fence. I miss you too. I brought you something else. Henry offered her the other package through the barbed wire. It's just a little surprise. Might not be too handy now with the poor weather and all. Keiko unwrapped the second package as carefully as she had the first. "How'd you find this?" she whispered in awe, holding up the Oscar Holden record in its faded paper sleeve. "I couldn't get into the Panama Hotel, and they were just sold out in town, but Sheldon gave me his. I guess it's from both of us. Too bad you can't play it tonight with the concert canceled and all." "We still have the record player in our building. I'll play it anyway, just for you. Actually, just for us." That made Henry smile. "Parents? What parents? You couldn't possibly know how happy I am to have this. This is almost like having you here with me. Not that I'd want to subjugate a place like this, but we've had no music. I'll be playing this every day." Thunderclaps struck overhead, turning out which had become a drizzle into a cloudburst. First in a few spare droplets, then widening into a thick, drenching downpour. Henry gave Keiko the last bag, the one from Woolworth's, with stationery, stamps, and fabric for blackout curtains. "You'd better go," he insisted. "I don't want to leave you. We just got here. You'll get sick in this weather living in a place like this. You need to go. I'll be back next week. I'll find you." "Visiting hours are over," a soldier barked, wrapping himself in a green raincoat as he gathered up his files. "Everyone away from the fence." The rain was rippling the ground and the sound drowning out their voices. To Henry it seemed to go from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock as the dark clouds dimmed the skyline, hiding the sun altogether. A dull gray glow illuminated the surface of the ground as it transformed back into a muddy, soggy field as it had been earlier that week. Keiko reached to the fence and held Henry's hands. "Don't forget about me, Henry. I won't forget about you. And if your parents don't want to speak to you, I'll speak to them and tell them you're wonderful for doing this. I'll be here every week." She let go and fastened the top button on her coat. "Next week?" Henry nodded. "I'll write to you then," Keiko said, waving goodbye as the last of the visitors filed out from the fence line and back toward the main gate. Henry was the last to leave, standing there soaking wet, watching Keiko as she made it all the way to a small outbuilding near the livestock pavilion that had become her new home. He could almost see his breath, it was growing so cold, yet inside he felt warm. As it grew darker, Henry noticed the searchlights in the machine gun towers torched to life. The tower guards shone them up and down the fence line, illuminating Henry and the other visitors as they puddle-jumped their way back past the main gate. Henry turned down the hill toward Mrs. Beatty's truck. In the dark, he could see her massive outline strapping down empty fruit crates in the back, her face illuminated by the cherry-red embers of her lit cigarette dangling from her mouth. Through the slosh of rain, Henry heard music from the camp. The song grew louder and louder, straining the limits of the speakers it came from. It was the record, their record, Oscar Holden's Alley Cat Strut. Henry could almost pick out Sheldon's part. It shouted at the night, louder than the storm. So loud a guard near the gate started hollering, "Turn off that music!" The searchlight swept down on the buildings in Area 4, beaming down a menacing eye, searching for the source.